the U.S. Transportation Secretary, Pete Buttigieg. Secretary, good to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me on.
It sounds like it could have been a lot worse. To quote Governor DeSantis, it was bad, but not the worst case scenario. Some relief with that. But man, quite a repair job to go through, right?
That's right. This is a major impact. Thankfully, some of the worst case scenarios that we were preparing for yesterday did not come to pass. And I do think that people paying attention to those evacuation calls probably saved a lot of lives. But we do see a lot of impacts, whether we're talking about roads, airports, or ports. And right now we've been working closely with Florida's DOT to support their work to address that. Last I heard, FDOT's got about 150 people out doing inspections. Now, the interstates are up and running. The major bridges in and out of Tampa also up and running, including the Sunshine Skyway Bridge. There are, though, some smaller roads or bridges that still need attention, or, sometimes you'll have a road or a bridge that looks okay to the naked eye, but after it's been submerged or impacted by a storm, you need to check it out to make sure that it's in good shape. So that's exactly the kind of work that's going on. Airports, as you've reported, including Tampa, either opening or on the road toward opening. FAA is going to do everything we can to help with that. And then watching the ports very closely, especially Port Tampa Bay, which is so important really to the whole state of Florida. A lot of optimism there that it can be brought back online in short order, but many steps need to happen first to make sure that it's safe to do so.
There were always some, and in every hurricane and storm, you see this, Secretary, so I'm far from critical of this, but a lot of gasoline stations running out of fuel. The governor, was trying to address that, said it wasn't for lack of fuel, but finding the man and the power to get that to them. And a lot of these are contractors who had other obligations, and they were spread thin. But bottom line, it couldn't be addressed. And even to this hour, sir, we still have problems getting fuel to those stations. Is that, with every storm, we find some logistical wrinkle that has to be ironed out for future storms. What have you learned from this one?
Yeah, that's certainly something that can happen. It's happened in this case, and as the governor indicated, it seems that this was less a matter of the supply chains being disrupted and more a matter of the spikes in demand that were created by everybody getting ready or being concerned about what might happen. Then you look at the gas stations; some of them may be closed or damaged directly. Some of them not damaged, but still waiting on that supply to come through. As I understand it, the state has taken efforts to provide police escorts and other ways to help tanker trucks get in, and of course, the sooner that can be rebalanced, the better. But again, one bit of good news here. Port Tampa Bay accounts for about 40% of the liquid fuel coming into the state of Florida. So if they had taken a direct hit, if that had damaged or destroyed the terminals or the docks, that could have been a major impact to Florida's ability to get fuel. As it stands, at least the preliminary indications that I've heard, just speaking recently to the Florida Secretary of Transportation, it sounds like there was not that kind of impact. And of course, they're going through now to make sure things like buoys and navigational aids are there. Coast Guard will be in charge of certifying that it's safe, but the initial indications are that the port will be in good shape, and that's a real relief if you're concerned about those fuel supply lines coming in to serve the people of Florida.
Knowing you were coming, Secretary, I was wondering, given the uniqueness of these last two hurricanes, in this area, Helene, and obviously Milton, they were big, powerful storms, but their real danger was, in the storm surge and some of the other issues that followed, tornadic activity and the rest. And it reminded me that some of our most lethal storms ended up not being, high category dangerous storms like Sandy, a superstorm back in my home state of New Jersey, but obviously did untold damage, one of the most expensive of all time. Helene wasn't expected to be as big a deal as it was for points north of Florida, but it led to obviously flooding and the rest in North and South Carolina. Nothing new to you. But do we have to now sort of recalibrate how we address the severity of the storm and the potential fallout?
Yeah, I think a lot of it, as you noted, goes to looking beyond a simple measure like what category the storm is. That tells you the wind speed, but that didn't really tell you what was going to come in terms of the tornadoes that it spawned or the storm surge, which can often be the deadliest thing. Also, and the governor in Florida has pointed this out, often with a storm, many of the deaths or injuries come afterwards as you have down power lines, people going into water that might have bacteria that can lead to fatal infections, things that you don't necessarily think of as the moment of the impact of the storm, but are certainly part of the danger. You add to that the fact that, in Florida, people, of course, are very experienced dealing with storms. But, if you're in the mountains of Appalachia, hurricanes are not always something that you've been hearing about or told to prepare for. So I think the best we can do in these situations is to try to be there in advance. We've tried to pre-position personnel, both going to Helen and also going to Milton. For example, FAA put a field incident response team in place in Jacksonville before the storm hit, so that after the storm hit, they could be out helping with the process of getting the runways and the towers and everything inspected to get those airports back online. Look, the bottom line is we are clearly going to see more frequent, more severe storms hitting the United States. We got to be ready, not just in terms of our emergency management practices, and I got to say, I'm really inspired and impressed by the work I've seen both locally and in the federal agencies to respond to that. But also, it's a matter of how we design and build our infrastructure. We've got to recognize that if a 100-year flood is becoming something that happens all the time, and your road keeps getting washed out, we shouldn't be requiring some community to put the road back the exact same way over and over again. We should be helping them move it to higher ground, and that's one thing we're doing more and more with our funds.
But we also get a lot of misinformation, don't we? We get people who say in North Carolina that if you're a Republican, you're not going to get help. If you're a Democrat, you'll get help. I would imagine that does a huge disservice to people working together and scares the bejesus out of others when they believe it.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things I worried about the false claim that was going on, for example, that had people believing that if you got $750 in
right.
immediate help, that you were never going to get anything else. What if somebody hears that, they believe it, and then they don't apply for more aid that they could absolutely qualify for? So, there are real costs and real consequences to that misinformation. But I also want to say, for the most part, we've seen a lot of responsible actors on both sides of the aisle saying that there's no place for that misinformation. I've been on the phone with Senator. I was talking to Senator Rubio and in touch with Senator Rubio and talking to Senator Scott and talking to mayors, governors of the states impacted by Helen. You would never know from the conversations we're having which ones were Republicans and which ones were Democrats. When I was talking to the FDOT secretary, you would never know that his boss and my boss belonged to opposite political parties. Right now, you got a lot of people pulling together, working to get the job done for people, regardless of how you voted, just based on what you need.
Well, Donald Trump said that about North Carolina. Republicans not getting help, Democrats getting help. That was Donald Trump.
Yeah, and I think that's really unfortunate because it's just not true. Look, we've got thousands of people in all of the areas that have been affected, and that's just the federal response alone. And, whether we're talking about somebody from the military who's been deployed to help, or somebody from our Federal Highway Administration, they're not checking whether they're in a red county or a blue county. They're checking what's going on with the bridges and who needs comms help and what the immediate needs are and how we can be helpful. So look, I get it's October. I get there's a lot of politics going on, but what has inspired me is to see so many people working together across different lines, including the state, federal, county lines that are out there, tearing down barriers, getting rid of red tape, because everybody has a job to do.
Well, all right. Secretary, very good seeing you again. Pete Buttigieg. Just want to allude to something that the Transportation Secretary kindly pointed out on these monies that you get from FEMA. That $750 was money up front for people who can't access ATM machines, that kind of thing. So it wasn't just a one-shot, that's it. It's a way for people to get hands on cash they desperately need, not the only money they will ever get or hope to get. But that kind of misinformation gets out there. And whether it's perpetrated by a politician or someone you think is someone of note and authority, it is wrong, and it is bull, and it cannot be tolerated. We'll have more to this.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.